Labour has ruled out tax rises for working people. But who exactly are working people? It's been a bit confusing over the last 24 hours.
What do Labour plan to do to working people? Let's find out from Labour's Matthew Pennycook. You're the Shadow Minister for Housing and Planning. The reason why we're asking this morning, Matthew, is because of what your leader, Sir Keir Starmer, told Nick Ferrari on LBC this week. Let's have a listen. The reason why the definition is important, Mr Pennycook, is, of course, because you've pledged not to raise taxes on working people. So are you coming for those who have savings?
No, I think it's very clear, and it's sort of obvious in many ways, but a working person is someone that goes out to earn their living, get through that, in that way. Some of those people will have savings, but I think what Keir was trying to get at is lots of those people now don't have savings. They've run their savings down. Many of them have gone into debt because of the consequences of Tory economic failure and the impact of Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget. So working people across the country are feeling the pinch, and lots of them don't have savings. But we're not coming after people with savings. We've been very, very clear. It is not our intention to put taxes up for working people. Every single one of the policies in our manifesto is fully costed and fully funded, and we've identified the specific tax increases, mainly closing tax loopholes, that will pay for each of those, primarily so we can inject extra funds in the very short term into key public services.
So you've just said that working people have, suffered enormously, and lots of them are in debt, and lots of them don't have savings, and you're not going to put up taxes on those people. But my question wasn't that. My question is, are you going to come for those working people who can write a cheque if they need to, who can access savings? Are you going to put up council tax? Are you going to put up capital gains tax? These are the questions people want the answers to, because they want to know who you're going to tax. Because, frankly, the voters know taxes are going to have to go up beyond what you've pledged in order to invest in public services.
Well, it's a fair question, but there's a very simple answer to that, and that is no. We are not coming after working people with savings in terms of tax rises. As I said, each one of the policies in our manifesto is fully costed, is fully funded. And we've identified the specific tax rises, for example, closing the loopholes on VAT private school fees, ending the non-dom status, clamping down on tax avoidance, where we will get the money to inject in terms of our first steps into key public services. But I think we do really have to change the conversation here about what we're talking about and break out of this doom loop of high tax, low growth economy. And that is why we've put such an emphasis on boosting economic growth and our plans for doing so. Because if the debate is continually about which taxes are going up rather than how do we grow the economy so that we can alleviate the tax burden on working people, we'll continue, as the Conservatives would like to, with 5 more years of the same, rather than Labour's focus on wealth creation, on growth. And that's where we've got to change the conversation. The only sustainable way to fund public services in the long term is to get the economy growing at pace, and that's what our manifesto is designed to achieve. Before Adil asks you his questions, I just want to ask about one particular tax, and that is first-time buyer stamp duty. It ends next April for houses up to £425,000. The Conservatives would abolish that stamp duty altogether. Are you going to introduce that stamp duty back again next April? No, we haven't outlined plans for that, but I find it rich, I must say, to be lectured by the Conservatives on home ownership. Home ownership is now a pipe dream for most working families across the country. By Rishi Sunak's own admission, it has become harder to buy a home under his government. We have a comprehensive plan to get Britain building again, to build 1.5 million new homes.
Sorry, I'm asking specifically about this stamp duty next April.
We've got no plans.
If I'm a first-time buyer and you're in government, after April next year, am I paying that stamp duty or not?
No, we've got no plans in that area. We have outlined our answer. We have outlined our answer on home ownership, with it's a freedom to buy mortgage guarantee scheme that will help around 80,000 first-time buyers.
You might reintroduce that stamp duty for first-time buyers.
No, I haven't said that. We've got no plans to do that.
No plans to do that?
No plans to do that. Absolutely right.
OK, so you might keep that stamp duty tax break for first-time buyers?
No, we've not outlined any specific changes to stamp duty in our manifesto.
So I'm confused. So, OK, let me go back to the question. If I'm a first-time buyer, you're in government, after next April, am I paying stamp duty on that first home up to £425,000 or not?
Yes, the Conservatives outlined a very specific policy. I think it's a desperate policy.
I'm asking you to outline
unfunded.
your very specific policy.
And we have not got the same policy in place. As I said, our offer for first-time buyers is a freedom to buy mortgage guarantee scheme that will help those who are able to afford mortgage repayments but struggle with a deposit onto the housing.
So you probably will reintroduce that stamp duty for first-time buyers?
Not reintroduce, because it's the Conservative promise is one that won't be enacted. It's an unfunded, desperate promise.
No, but I'm asking. Sorry, I'm not asking about I'm asking about what you're going to do. You're likely to get into government according to all the polls. I'm wondering if I'm a first-time buyer, whether I'm paying that stamp duty or not.
I completely understand the question, but the policy change hasn't happened. It's a promise from the Conservatives that's not in place. We're not advocating the same change. As I've said, I've outlined what we specifically announced in terms of help for first-time buyers.
I'm still really... Right. Am I paying stamp duty on that house or not as a first-time buyer?
The current arrangements will remain in place. We are not matching the Conservative promise, which we don't think will be enacted.
The current arrangement is that the first-time buyer doesn't pay stamp duty. OK, so you're going to keep that?
Yes, we've made no promises on changes to stamp duty in the manifesto.
OK. Reply me.
I mean, you can understand, Matthew Pennycook, how this is sort of systematic of the Labour campaign, very sort of unclear on policy. I just want to quickly bring your attention to what's been happening in Gaza. The UN report overnight that has claimed that, and it's an independent inquiry, that the attacks by Israel have been intentional and a direct attack on the civilian population. They have forced starvation, extermination and murder. And what is the Labour policy? If Labour come into power, because it's very confusing, very early on in this, Keir Starmer said that Israel had a right to stop any water and power. Was his judgment wrong now? Now we can see this inquiry. What does it say about Keir Starmer's judgment? And you're losing a lot of support over this one single issue.
Well, that was not what Keir Starmer meant, and he clarified what he meant in that regard. We've said from the outset that Israel absolutely had a right to defend itself against the appalling terrorist attack on the 7th of October last year, but that it had to do so in line with international law. That has been our consistent policy from the start. We've expressed concern about the need to enact the ICJ ruling, the need for an immediate ceasefire to bring the suffering to an end. That's our focus now, ensuring those UN security resolutions are implemented and that Israel adheres to international law.
And are you saying that you would call for an end to supply of arms, many components that go to arms to Israel after July the 5th, if you're in power?
We've not outlined any plans, again, on arms sale restrictions to Israel. Our focus is on that immediate ceasefire, getting aid into the besieged enclave of Gaza, ensuring that the ICJ ruling is adhered to and the UN security resolutions are carried out. That's the focus now. We've got to have an immediate ceasefire to end the suffering.
All right. Matthew Pennycook, thanks very much for joining us this morning on Good Morning Britain.